Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this webinar, and today we're going to be going over just some of the tools that are available on the ARBEST website. Just a few housekeeping items during the presentation. Please mute yourself by pressing *6, and if you need to ask a question, please use the chat feature, which is found on the right side of your screen. We will have a question and answer session at the end. And if you need to if you'd like to ask a question, just unmute yourself by pressing *6. This webinar is being recorded, and we will provide a link to this presentation from our website. Okay, so we're going to go over a couple of different clinical tools that are available to clinicians. The first, which we're going to talk about, is the UCLA PTSD Reaction Index. And this is just a brief screening tool that provides information regarding the trauma exposure and PTSD symptoms. We'll then talk about our treatment plan that we've created and how that can support, for planning based on TSD treatment components. And then the newest feature to our website is we added the TF-CBT Checklist. And this is just a way to monitor your client's progress through the TF-CBT model. Well, to access our tools, you'll need to log into your ARBEST account. And this is just a screenshot of our homepage. And most of you should be familiar on how to do that. But in case you forgot, you'll need to click that blue link there that's on our homepage. And the next screen you'll be brought up is the login page. If you forgot your password or it's been a while, you can just email us. There are a couple email addresses provided in this presentation that you can contact to get your password reset. Okay, so once you are logged in to the to your main menu, this is a screen that you'll see. And for today's presentation, we're pretty much going to be in the patient care part, which is, over the letter A. And that's, what we see below there, the patient ID, when they were registered and so on. And I'll also be showing you some things that are in the download section. So to have access to any of these tools, we need to register patient or client. So again, you'll click patient care. You'll then need to select register patient. The next thing that will come up after you select register patient is this registration page. And you're just going to be entering basic demographic information about the client and the nature of the trauma. We don't know who these individuals are, which is why we don't ask for any identifying information. This is an important part. You'll need to remember their ID that's assigned to them. So when you do follow-ups or just other case notes and things like that, you'll need to know that, client number 4 is Johnny or Sally. So, so after we complete, we register a client, this is when we'll have access to be able to add a UCLA. And that's what we're going to go over now. So you're going to be assessing the child's trauma using the UCLA PTSD Reaction Index. And we ask that, you do this at baseline, at a baseline or, close to intake, and then at 3 follow-up points after intake. And sometimes the common question is, well, I've been seeing this individual for, maybe a month or more, can I still enter a UCLA? Absolutely. In a perfect world, as close to the initial intake you do, you would administer the UCLA. But if you've been seeing the child for a couple weeks or months, but you think that they would benefit with this assessment, then by all means go ahead and do that. But at least you'll have a baseline there. We also want to stress that those 3 follow-up points, those are just kind of a general rule, but we still want you to use your clinical judgment. So let's say after you do the first UCLA, you decide, well, I think this child, they'd benefit, after a month, just check in how their symptoms are doing. By all means, go ahead and do that. So, okay. So to add a UCLA, you are going to look under the instruments column. I'm going to try to use this pointer here, and hopefully you all can see this. Under the instruments column, and you'll click Add, and we'll see what the next page looks like. You will see this little window that pops up, and this is sort of your portal to enter a UCLA. Quick note about the data entry in secure mode. This will always be automatically selected. And this is in place for if you have your child or caregiver sitting at your computer and filling out the assessment online. What will happen is as soon as they're done completing it, it'll log them out of the system so they can't see any other client or patient information. If you're the one administering the UCLA, I would advise just to uncheck that so that you don't get logged out. Okay. The same person completing the baseline must complete the follow-up. So if, let's say you're doing a parent version and grandma is actually the one completing that version, grandma needs to complete the follow-up, not mom, or, hopefully that makes sense. But the parent instruments are labeled number A right there, and the patient instruments for clients who are 12 and older. And under the optional module, we have UCLA available for younger kids, ages 7 to 11. And in case there's a question that the parent caregiver may not be able to report a trauma, just as accurately as the child. So, okay. So after we have mom or the client complete the UCLA, this is what their screen will look like. Screenshot of it, of the first part of the UCLA where they identify the trauma. I wanted to go over just a couple issues that you may experience. First is measure cannot be saved if there aren't any traumas endorsed. So that's the key to the assessment, is that they must endorse at least one trauma. And if they're not endorsing any of that, you'll have to use your clinical judgment on whether this child is appropriate to complete the test. The second common issue is parent measure will not save, the parent measure will save, but it'll be invalid, so you won't have a score. And this happens when too many don't knows are endorsed. And, all we can say about this is, sometimes we've had experience where it's very difficult for parents, or especially foster parents, to know what the child was experiencing. Especially if the history of the event is a little foggy, so that can be troubling. But and so what happens is when a parent marks don't know, the computer scores it as a blank. So just to let you all know about that does sometimes happen. The third issue is that the UCLA does not save. You get kicked out. I think for at least the first couple times you're doing this on our system, we really encourage you to use paper copies of the measure. And I will show you where those can be found here very shortly. But first I want to go over how to see the results. So, you were able to do a UCLA with a parent, and now we're going to go over just an example of what a report might look like. And your report is going to be found under the, in this case, parent is highlighted. So this is where the report, if you did a patient report or a patient UCLA, patient would be highlighted. You'll just click on that. And this is a screenshot of what the first graphic report will look like. And this is the overall traumatic stress symptom. And in this example, the parent or the overall score was 15. And we're not going to go over interpreting the results on this webinar. In fact, there's a really, really great video that's put on by the National Trauma and Child Traumatic Stress Network that if you would like a copy of that, I will send a link to everyone after this webinar. But so this webinar is just simply how to enter it and how to see the reports. This is your first screen. On the second screen, just breaks it down by what the three symptom clusters: arousal, avoidance, and intrusion. And if you add these all up, that is what your overall traumatic stress score is. And the third little graph is the individual symptom severity scores. And this changes, by each time you do the assessment. So if you're due to follow-up, and, the parent was to answer these questions differently, these scores would change. So what I advise therapists who are really, would like to keep this information handy to see, how different symptoms are doing is just to print out the reports to have it for your records. And we also make, the top of the report there, we let you know that this is for the current assessment. Once you submit a completed form, it cannot be edited, but if you make a mistake or you just have questions or something went wrong, you can always email us at the email address here, arbest_info@uams.edu. This is where I'm going to show you where to get paper copies of all those UCLA baseline and follow-up forms. You're going to go under, you're going to click Downloads, and this is the screen that you'll see. You'll notice that the adolescent baseline and the adolescent follow-up are right below there, and I would just, you can open these up. They're PDF versions. Just go ahead and save them to your desktop or whatever, file is easy for you to access. The items that I have starred below there, the blue and the red, those are some really good help on, how decide on how to interpret your results. I think it's a good starting point. If you still have questions, feel free to email us, and we will point you in the right directions and help you understand your results. All right. The second tool that we're going to go over is the treatment plan. And recently we've gotten a couple requests about, I work with kids, I need to have measurable goals and objectives. Do you all have anything like that? And, in fact, we do. So you can just click Add under Treatment Plan, abbreviated TX. And this is a screenshot that you'll see. And these are all measurable goals and objectives. And there's 3 areas of focus, the first being traumatic stress, the second depression, and the third disruptive behaviors. And these were developed in-house, and they're used to, if you have medicated patients and you need measurable goals and objectives, these are just a great, feel free to borrow from us. The treatment plan, the patient treatment plan is available under that download section. You can print that off and use it. Feel free to use it on our website. I think they're really great, and folks that have used them before have had a lot of success with them. So, okay, the third tool that I just wanted to highlight for everyone is our TF-CBT checklist. And you might remember from the TF-CBT training that you attended, Tony and others, perhaps leaders on your consultation calls, have talked about this TF-CBT checklist. Well, this is now available on our website. And again, to access this, you'll just click the Add button under the TF-CBT checklist column. And then it's going to be laid out a little bit differently. You'll be asked to enter a start and end time here. And it's arranged just like the paper copies that you're probably all familiar with, the first being psychoeducation, parenting skills, then relaxation. And here we've kind of expanded a little bit on what Tony and the developers have added or have created. So this is a modified version, but the really neat thing about this is that, after you do a couple of these checklists, you'll be able to monitor your client's progress. And here's just an example that, I did for this webinar. The most recent session will always be up on top. So you can see here by the start date was May 15th. And you can see when the session started at 10 a.m. and then, it was over at 11 a.m. During that session, we worked on cognitive coping, and we started working on the trauma narrative. And below that, we can see with the last session, we can review what we did last time. So that might be helpful, especially if you have more than one kiddo on your case that we're using TF-CBT with. So it's a new tool available on our website. Really encourage some feedback, and any way we can make this report better, we definitely want to hear how we can do that. Okay, this was a very quick and brief webinar, so I wanted to leave plenty of opportunity for questions. So you may unmute your phone by pressing *6 if you have any questions. And if we don't have any questions, just make sure you get this on your calendar that our next webinar will be on June 21st, and our topic is going to be children with developmental disabilities who've experienced trauma. So we're really excited to have that. That's been a topic that we've had requested a couple of times, and we're able to get a speaker to do that. Any questions? All right, well, I'll take silence as everyone got it. So thank you all for attending, and I hope to hear from you all on the 21st. And again, if you have not, you can feel free to contact me with any questions that you have. All right, take care.